Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Fresh Out the Podcast, the greatest podcast in the world. I am the board game guru, game master extraordinaire, Jahananan.
It's me, Casualty CDG, co-host of Fresh Out the Podcast and also Fresh Out the Box. That's where Jahan and I play tabletop role-playing games, and we have fun, or do we? You got to tune in and find out every Thursday and Friday, twitch.tv/Jahananan. That's what we're doing. But not tonight. Tonight we're doing something else. Tonight we're doing Fresh Out Your Kitchen. And that's whenever we come into your house, take something out of your kitchen, and we go out your back door. You never even knew we were there. You'll find out if we got you this week on Fresh Out Your Kitchen.
Well, I am the professional media and movie mastermind, the Funhouse, Drew Munhausen, and what a way to kick off the show. And I got another way to kick it off with a little story time before we get into our fresh news, because John, I'm sorry to put you on the spot here,
no.
Jahan, but it is story time for our viewers / listeners.
Oh boy.
Because everyone,
You got
Jahan,
bro.
Jahan got.
I got
Jahan
got?
You
got.
You got.
The AI overlords that are set to take over the world have gotten Jahan.
They got me.
Last week. I think it was maybe a day or two after we had podcasted already. Jahan,
I was excited, man. I was excited.
He sends a message in our chat to me and Gary, and he says, I don't have it in front of me, so I should have, but I believe something along the lines of Back to the Future 4? And then we respond like, what? Jahan goes, didn't know they were making it. Just watched the trailer, and I said, I believe I replied, fake news, ? And Jahan said, nah, I just watched the trailer.
I was sure, man.
The trailer that he watched was a fan-made trailer that had been posted. I don't know, when was it posted, Jahan, the trailer you watched?
I don't know. It was on TikTok, and it looked real, and it had footage of like Michael J. Fox, like an older Michael J. Fox giving a lecture at a college or something about time travel, and it had, Doc Brown was there, and some of it looked really crappy, and I was like, oh, I don't know about all this stuff, but it has the original cast, that's pretty cool. And then, yeah, when I went back and looked, it said fan-made trailer, I was like, son of a bitch.
I was going to say, luckily you didn't, die on your sword and say, nah, I watched it. It's real. It's a real trailer. Luckily, you quickly realized the error of your ways. But I was quite entertained by Jahan, who is on a pop culture themed movie, TV game podcast, Got by AI fan trailers.
I got. Hey, man, they're getting hard to tell, man. Some of those AI trailers look really real.
Well, there's like
That's
a whole
fair.
video game that released, right? And the whole point of it was that everybody got.
Technically,
It was
I
just
got by that one too, because that one was on my most anticipated games of the year list.
We're talking about, what are we talking about? The day before. That's what we're talking about. Basically, almost exactly what Drew explained, like the AI overlords. This game looks like a real game. This is why you can't trust any game previews you see. You have to wait for real gameplay. You can't trust anything until you see real live gameplay.
Until you hold it in your hands, it's just nothing. It's nothing.
The day before just was it was basically an empty game where they just used a bunch of preloaded assets that they more or less purchased and put in the game. So why design a bus when you could buy one? Why make these park benches when you could buy some that are already made? So the developers did, from what I could tell, and from the video that Drew and I watched, and from the news that
I also watched it.
Jahan too. It was basically a cash grab, and when the game released, the studio shut down so that there will be no giving any money back. And this is a kind of thing we may expect to see more in the future. Like fake trailers, these kind of scam games are going to come out. And unless you've played something from an indie dev, or there's a reason to really trust them or believe them, it's going to be hard to trust what indie studios are up to. If an indie studio comes out of nowhere and promises you the moon.
Yeah, that's the messed up part. Like it damages the reputation of the innocent.
It sure does. It doesn't hurt the rep of the big companies
No.
because they'll produce something. They'll make something.
But there's also signs because I was interested in this game, and so I was following it a bit. There was just never new information. They never showed how their looting works, how their like survival stuff worked. They never showed any of that stuff. So I was like, I guess I'll see what people say about it since they're not showing me. And then hey, it's in the 10 worst reviewed Steam games of all time list. So
I was reading that Steam pulled it. I don't know if it's true. I didn't open Steam Store to try to find out. But I read that Steam pulled the game. It was just such an abysmal failure that you can't buy it anymore.
Yeah. It was bad. I mean, any game where the studio shuts down 4 days after launching their major title, that's obviously something.
They've been building for 5 years plus.
Yeah.
That's exactly how Back to the Future 4 would have been, is a colossal failure. So thank God it's not happening.
Nah,
there is just such a culture of like fan-made items and trailers and things online that I feel like for me as someone who likes to read a lot of the film news and take in way too much content every day, like you do kind of end up putting these headlights on every time you're reading, just to make sure, because sometimes you see really cool casting news on Twitter or something of the sorts, and then you'll realize like one time I had a friend share some sort of casting news with me. I can't remember who it was or what the role was, but it was like a fan casting, like truly like a dream casting scenario. That looked like it was sent from Discussing Film, which is an active Twitter account that regularly does share film news. But if you looked closely, the account that shared it was at Disbussing Film. So the C in Discussing was a B. So it was a parody account or fake account that would just share whatever news that, then it gets liked enough and circulated enough. People do take it as real. I just feel like every story, everything I see on social media, as far as casting, whatever, I'm constantly double, triple, and even quadruple checking it.
You got to Google it or Bing it. If you really don't want to Google it, if you're not a Google guy, you could always Bing it. But either way, you got to check your facts. You got to double, triple check these days.
What happened with me was I was just looking through TikTok, saw something cool, and sent it to you guys. But yeah, you're right. If I had been sharing that, it would have been bad. But yeah, man, scammers are gonna scam. Some guys tried to scam me with a fake job once, and yeah, man, they were gonna send me a check to buy a home office setup from their vendors, and then apparently I would put the check in my bank account, spend the money, and then the check would bounce, but the money would still come out of my account. So like they would be off scot-free and they'd get like my thousands of dollars. Like that was the scam.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we can divert to our fresh news of the week. We actually should have worn black suits, attire, because we're attending a funeral today, aren't we? It is rest in peace E3.
This is my funeral attire.
That's actually I believe that.
Fun fact: you don't wear black at an Iranian funeral.
What do you wear at an Iranian funeral?
You're supposed to wear colors, bright colors. Not necessarily bright, but like I wore the last Iranian funeral I went to. I wore like a salmon button-up shirt, kind of thing.
Nice.
There's actually supposed to be a lot of colors out in the crowd, not just like one particular color.
Yes,
so yeah, the answer really is colors.
Yeah, colors. It's like
spring
Eastery.
colors.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, choose something kind of bright, some pastels maybe.
Pastels. Yep, you're exactly right.
Yeah. E3. The folks at E3 released a statement today, and it said, after more than 2 decades of E3, each one bigger than the last, the time has come to say goodbye. Thanks for the memories. This is, to ananybody that follows video games.
Look, man,
this is not a surprise.
No, when you said that, it made me laugh. It's like they came out of their grave to deliver this news. Like E3's been this past 2 past years, we've talked about the showcases. When we watched the Xbox showcase, when we watched the PlayStation and Nintendo showcase, that we've been talking about the absence of E3 now for 2 years. Like I said, it's It's literally like they crawled out of the grave to say they were dead. Like, yeah,
It's
guys, we know.
it's really been even longer. I was reading the articles because I couldn't remember how long ago it was. Sony pulled out of E3 back in 2018. So they stopped showing up at the actual convention. And I think, like the history lesson here is, E3 dates back really pre the internet being as big as it is now, and it was a trade show. It was for all the journalists and game tester, whoever to go to this event, preview content so they could write up previews and tell fans what was coming out. And so it was a big deal that fans looked forward to because they got a preview of all the big games coming out. And as the show became more digital over the recent years, they even several years ago invited fans could actually get tickets and could attend. And then slowly, Nintendo started producing their own Nintendo Live. What's their events called? Their Nintendo Directs that they would show during the E3 timeframe. Pre-recording and not doing the live stage show. And then Sony pulled out. Microsoft took their press conference away from E3 and did it at their own theater. Around the same time. I think basically what this means, nothing really changes for us as the consumers. They're still going to have a big summer event with their press conferences that they'll stream directly to YouTube, wherever you consume this kind of stuff. And you'll still get all your game previews. There's just not going to be a big trade show to go along with it. And why would there be? It's a waste of money for these big companies that when they can go directly to the consumer with their news and announcements. So it's been a long time coming. The writing's been kind of on the wall, but I wanted to talk about it because I know for me, especially as a kid, I have nostalgia for E3. Like, I used to get so excited for E3 the same way you would for like going on vacation or getting to see the biggest movie of the year. I legitimately used to get that excited.
I'm not even kidding. Like, I looked forward to I'm with you. I look forward to it every year. I don't look forward to the Olympics, right? And the Super Bowl is fine. Mostly I look forward to the food and hanging out with people, not really the game itself. But E3 was one of those events where I cared about the event. I really did. It wasn't the hubbub around it. I wanted to see the cool new games. But I do feel the same way about the showcases now. And when the showcases are coming, it's harder to keep track of them because they're all spread out. I do wish they would do it on a day. The three of them would agree. Let's release them today so I could watch them all in a row. I miss that. But as far as, cutting E3, cutting the middleman out, the guy who was just charging you for a stage, like, I get it, bro. You just cut out. Yeah, it totally makes sense.
The part that I miss,
and the COVID era was a real slam dunk on that. Right?
Yes, absolutely.
It was icing on the cake when everybody had already pulled out, and then COVID happened, and they're just still making money and don't need a show and don't need a stage and don't need you. Sorry, E3, rest in peace.
The part that I miss has been gone from E3 for a long time anyways. I miss the G4 Tech TV coverage, X-Play, Adam Sessler, Morgan Webb, the Attack of the Show people, all doing segments there, taking their shifts and, like, doing coverage. Watching my beloved hosts, like, go and, like, try the games out. And, I also similarly looked forward to that time of year every year, too. But
I agree. I used to turn the TV to G4 for a week straight and watch all the live streams and things. And really, IGN and the other big game journalist publications are doing that now, but it's a little different. It's just, I'm getting old, I guess. I think that's what it comes down to. I'm not streaming stuff on, the same way that I did when I'd put the channel on G4 back, over a decade ago.
I mean,
no, but I will slap YouTube on, and I'll keep YouTube on all day. If you're doing an all-day coverage show, I'll put YouTube on for 4 hours or so and sit around and watch your stuff. It's not too foreign to me. I'm not too old to YouTube it.
I'll put it on in my earpiece while I'm working. Like,
whoa, dude, that's some real millennial stuff. That's crazy.
Hell yeah.
Just off the top of your head, do you have any E3 moments from history that stick out to you as like something that you remember, whether it was a game or something that was an announced or a celebrity appearance or anything like that?
So I have this, like, man, maybe this is not E3. Maybe this is the first year Sony pulled out or whatever, but this might have been Sony's last year. I think I remember sitting on the couch at my brother's house, and me and my brother and my wife watching E3, and Sony did this big thing where they were like, all right, well, come with us to the next stage. And there was like a 15-minute break or something. And then all of a sudden they were in like a whole nother stage that was like outside set up in a stadium with all these different lights and stuff. They did like a full like blue to black shift to announce it might have been uh, the game where you carry around a fetus. That might have been what all the hubbub was for. But whatever they announced, it just wasn't really as memorable as this whole. It was the whole pony show. You know what I mean? I kind of liked the whole multiple stages, switch costumes and setups, and we'll be back in 15 minutes because they had to move the whole crowd. It's not like the Oscars where you just, move the stage. They had to pick up the crowd and move them all outside. Those kinds of practical things I thought were fun to watch. And that's probably the reason why Sony ended up pulling out, right? Is because it was just a stupid, huge waste of money to build a second stage with all these lights and all this sound system and all that to pick up a crowd and move them. It's just not super smart. But I did like the theatrics of it, no doubt.
Yeah, I believe it was back in the day that The Rock, James The Rock Johnson, as
James
we know him on this show, I believe showed up for the unveiling of the OG Xbox. I believe it was, and Keanu Reeves has been there for Cyberpunk, and there's been tons of celebrity appearances that are always interesting to see. I also, it's also not a time for good memories if a reveal gets botched. Like, I remember when the Xbox One was unveiled in 2013, and they had all these things with it that we, now are kind of standard, but back then it was just a little too early for, like, the console's always online and you can't share your physical games with your friends because the game, just downloads directly to your hard drive, and there are all these different things. And the Xbox One announcement just got totally botched, and that was after the Xbox 360 had done really well, and then the PS4 just sold like gangbusters after that. So, sometimes E3 can be a place where you shoot yourself in the foot too.
Yeah, I don't have particular memories. I've been watching too much coverage for too long to be able to sort out what was what. Like, I don't remember what was E3 and what was, like, the Japanese game show and what was, Sony.
Right?
Can't remember.
Same. I'm not sure when they split up, but I'm not sure. Yeah, but just, like, maybe the big spectacle of it,
Yeah, I miss the pageantry. I miss the sweaty nerds, the booth babes, the merch, the silly ways they would set up their booths, and like the stuff that they would do to get attention at the shows.
I'm sure it
was always
certainly
really cool.
Got out of hand at some point with too many fans and too many booths and too much crap and all that. I'm sure that's what happened at the end of it, when it used to be a trade show and then became a place that was just packed with a line out the door.
Conventions have an interesting balance because, like, too many people ruin a convention,
it
but
sure does.
Not enough can do the same. So, like, you need the sweet spot.
I'm almost, the part that I miss, like we keep saying, is the pageantry. And like I said, I really wish Nintendo, Sony, and Xbox would at least get on the same week. Maybe they spread it out Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
That'd be cool.
But they could still create the pageantry, and it would work for all three of them. It wouldn't hurt anybody for them to work their release out. It would be great as a consumer.
Yeah, I'm fine with E3 going away. It's, times change. It's been around for so long. There's other stuff now. The convention that I really miss is still PAX South. So, like, I'm still heard about that one. But E3, it's fine. I never got to go anyways.
Yeah, they now they have Summer Games Fest that I think Jeff Keighley introduced a couple years ago, and I think that's usually around the time that a lot of the big companies, Microsoft, Nintendo, etc., do their streamed press conferences, and so I'm assuming that'll still be the case. And again, Jeff Keighley, the Game Awards have become a bigger deal year after year. That just took place this past week, and there's some people that were upset about it because the show apparently, in its like 2-hour and 53-minute runtime. Yeah, for those who don't know, Game Awards are basically the Academy Awards for video games. Like, they've been around for several years now. I think about 30 minutes of the 2-hour and 53-esque minute show were actually the awards being given out in speeches, and the rest of the time was just game trailers and announcements. But honestly,
Yeah, I thought it
if
was
you're
kind of
doing
messed up because like he
yeah,
kept there's like several categories. Like he would be like this category, and the winner is this person, and then like he would do like 4 categories in a row. You wouldn't see any
Yeah,
representatives.
I
Or
do wish they had shown, 15 seconds, 10 seconds of gameplay of each game in each category. Because you're
something.
right, it would just be like, here's a list, and the winner is this guy. And then they would give them like 30 seconds to talk and then play them off stage, man. Multiple people were getting played off stage. It was, slow down. I'm sure that they charged a pretty penny for each slot that they showed a game in. And I'm
Oh
sure
yeah,
they
that guy
a lot of
made
money
a
that
mint
way.
by cutting
Yeah.
people's time, man, and that's
Yep.
I understand why people are mad. It was kind of gross, but
I think it should have been
balance is key.
maybe balance is key, Drew. You nailed it. Maybe it should have been half and half, and then maybe you even lean into the award part a little bit more. I don't know. It would annoy me, I think, to be more awardy. I think that's why I don't watch the Oscars. It's very awardy. But I
Well,
think
and
there's, and also the Oscars. That would be dope if they showed a bunch of movie trailers for like stuff
That's
coming out.
exactly what I was going to say. Is I think that
Sick.
again the balance for the Game Awards was maybe a little, obviously heavily in favor of the trailers. If you could find a better balance to give some of these games and developers a little bit better showcase for their speeches, but still deliver a lot of trailers, I think that gets more people to watch. I absolutely should be part of it. And yes, I think the other award shows like the Oscars, like the Oscars are
Live
usually right after the Super Bowl, and the Super Bowl has always been an event to showcase trailers and have big spots, which I get it. The viewership for the Super Bowl is huge, but you could get a lot of movie lovers to tune into the Oscars more if they knew that maybe there'd be 3 or 4 or 5 high profile trailers that they were going to see during the Oscars. I think that that's something they could learn from.
Yeah, I think that would be cool personally. As a guy who used to watch the Oscars and does not give a damn anymore, surprise trailers would be a cool thing. And even if I didn't want to sit there and watch it, I probably would. But even if I didn't, the next day it would be hot on YouTube, hot on TikTok. It would be hot everywhere. You know what I mean? So it would still be great marketing either way.
fair enough. I agree. I mean, yeah, balance.
Things to
Any
learn from the
other-
show. Some things worked, some things didn't.
Yeah, I guess we can, the Game Awards, I didn't put it as the discuss. I thought the death of E3 was a better discussion because the Game Awards, there were just so many announcements and so many trailers. I guess, real quick before we
I'm
move on
still
to our first
learning
movies
about
and such.
stuff.
Are there any,
Like,
do y'all have any
I-
favorite trailers that stuck out or anything?
I like sat down while it was going already, and then I had to go to dinner, so I didn't catch the beginning or the end. I'm not sure how much of it I caught in the middle. I think I caught about an hour, maybe 45 minutes or so. So I didn't see the whole thing. So it's really cool because I'm still seeing stuff like from the Game Awards where it's like, here's this trailer here. And Jahan was like, hey, you think Blade's going to be good by Bethesda? And I was like, is that a thing? I didn't know that was a thing. So it's cool. I'm still learning a week later about releases, even though I thought I watched a good chunk of the show. They must have really gone game heavy.
They did. Absolutely, they went heavy. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I didn't see coming at all. How many games did they announce? They announced like at least 20 games.
It's a lot. I think it's more than that.
The one that sticks in my head that I was like, holy crap, that like my jaw dropped was Monster Hunter Wilds. Monster Hunter Wilds looks really cool. It is it's supposed to come out in 2025. It looks like a cross between Monster Hunter Rise and Monster Hunter World. It looks more open, and they're once again they're bringing the mounts back from Monster Hunter Rise, and this mount looks like it can like climb walls and fly and stuff, which is pretty cool. I'm a huge Monster Hunter fan, so like that was hands down my most anticipated game from the show.
That's a good pick. I know you're a big fan of that franchise.
I'm also
Mine
excited
was
for a game that's out already, but they showed some trailers. Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. It is a Warhammer 40k like turn-based RPG, much in the style of Baldur's Gate, much in that isometric view RPG style. Looks really fun. those are probably my 2 picks.
The Sega thing was really cool. As soon as I heard the Sega boot up the Sega logo, I was like, what's Sega up to? And I thought it was going to be one game. I'm sure everyone thought it was going to be one game. A new Sonic or something is what was bouncing around in my head. But Sega's doing a whole generation of games at once, and I think that's pretty smart move by them. That way everything doesn't fall by the wayside. That way they're going to have a couple of hits among the bunch. I really thought what they were doing looked cool. It was a whole set of games. Crazy Taxi, Golden Axe, Streets of Rage, Jet Set Radio. So there was a lot of games in there that I've been growing up. Yeah, Golden Axe was being reimagined as a cooperative third-person action game. It looked really cool.
It looked really good.
And same with Streets of Rage. Streets of Rage was not a side-scroller. It looked to be a third-person action-adventure beat-em-up game. And I'm about it. And I don't know if these games will be on Game Pass. I don't know where they'll be or what it's going to be. But I'm interested, man. Those are the ones that struck me. Crazy Taxi doesn't really do anything for me, to be honest. But it did look like they had some cool competitive type of thing where maybe players were playing police cars chasing down the taxi, trying to stop them from getting to the objective, stuff like that. So they're trying to keep it interesting and keep it fresh. But Jet Set Radio, that's going to be one that gets played.
One of the jokes that was going on was, what's the next game that they're going to show? A sci-fi shooter. Sci-fi shooter. And, like, it's true. But, yeah, I guess there was a couple more that, I mean, I was excited about a lot of them. I'm very... I'm worried about Blade. I'm not sure that one's got me sold yet. Blade, it was a cool announcement, but it's being made by Arcane. And I don't know, man. After Redfall, I'm not sure if it's the same Arcane studio that did Redfall.
It is, but let me give my thoughts on this, because I've thought a lot about this too.
I want good news, man. I love Blade, dude.
It is the same studio, Arcane, that did they did Redfall, but they also did Deathloop, which is a game that I really liked, and they did the Dishonored games, which I really like those as well. The thing with Redfall is all the stories that have come out about Redfall after it came out and has failed to connect shows that they knew kind of from the get-go that it wasn't going in the right direction, and they wanted to trash it, and Microsoft, I think, really kind of pushed it along because of the Bethesda purchase. And I just think there was a lot of bad feeling about Redfall from the beginning. So it's an unfortunate situation for us as gamers that was an exclusive.
Have to kill everybody who works at the studio.
What was that?
If they bomb it, do you think the head of Microsoft has to kill everybody who works at the studio himself?
Oh boy.
During a rave.
Anyway, I just wouldn't take Redfall as the true reflection of the studio that's working on Blade.
And that's
that being
fair.
said, I would assume that Blade, because of Arcane's history, will probably be like a first-person adventure game. I think actually I take it back. I want to say they said it was a third-person game, so I'm
down with third-person Blade action for sure. Yeah, it's not. I'm totally willing to give them a chance. It's just like, man, the people making Blade made one of the worst vampire games of all time. That's specifically what worries me. So there's that announcement, and then also Light No Fires from the creators of No Man's Sky. It is a open world fantasy game that is supposedly the size of a planet with no boundaries. That's what they're claiming. We've heard promises like this before, but hey, looks really cool. There was a lot of good announcements, man. This made me excited for the future of gaming. I know that there was last year was kind of a bad year, kind of a slow year for games. This year's been really good. Next year looks even better, and 2025 is even promising already.
All right. Well, we can move on from the Game Awards to fresh movies of the week is where we'll start. And
I gotta apologize to you guys real quick. I told you I was gonna go see The Boy and the Heron, and I was going to go see it. It's not playing in my town. There's only one movie theater, and I guess it's too artsy, which
that's
I was
fair.
totally surprised by. I was surprised. I was let down. We were upset. But if it comes, we'll go see it. I tried, and I wanted to. I just wanted to apologize to you guys personally.
Hey man, I appreciate that, and it's not a big deal, buddy. You tried. Like, it's not your fault that you live in a small town that doesn't show straight
Well,
from
it is my
Japan
fault.
anime movies.
It is my fault. I did move here. That is 100% my fault.
Fair enough.
Well, the funny thing, the joke's on your theater, Gary, because before we get into what we thought about it, The Boy and the Heron came in at number 1 at the box office this past weekend, making $13 million. And the unique thing about this is it is the first time ever that an original Japanese animated film has come in at number 1 at the box office.
That's
So-
pretty big. Yeah.
That's a huge success for The Boy and the Heron and for Studio Ghibli in general and for Japanese animation. Now, granted, there have been bigger anime releases than this. Like, I believe there's been some other anime TV properties that have movie spin-offs like One Piece or what's the other one? What's the Demon
Dragon Ball
Slayer
Z did
one?
some. Demon Slayer is what it's called. Yes.
They had that Demon Slayer movie that made like an unprecedented amount of money recently, but that's not considered an original anime movie because it's
Correct.
based off of the existing IP. So The Boy and the Heron, though, that's a huge win. I feel like, and that means a lot for. It's not like it made Across the Spider-Verse money, but the fact that The Boy and the Heron made an impact and came in number 1 at the box office does put a lot in its favor as we move into the awards race for Best Animated Feature Film this year. So that's a little Drew's Oscar corner aside. But yeah, Jahan and I got to go see The Boy and the Heron together. It was at a Studio Movie Grill location, so we had actually pretty good food. I thought the food I had was really good that evening. And
You can't get food at my theater. You can only get like popcorn or like a hot dog, like a sad hot dog. I got the nachos one time and they didn't even have the meat. You know what I mean? It was just the
that's not a
cheese.
Taos thing, though. That's a movie theater.
That's just
thing.
movie theaters.
We were fortunate to go to one, but
I bet your movie theater has meat with the nachos.
Maybe so.
My movie theater, Cinemark has pizzas and cookie pizzas and hot dogs
See?
and they have food.
See?
They also
See?
have alcohol now, so
See?
it's fair.
And we did see the subtitled version of the movie when we went. And so Jahan, what did Jahan and I briefly exchanged a few words about the movie as we were leaving, but this is a Hayao Miyazaki movie. There's just kind of a lot to unpack and a lot to digest. So I think we were both kind of figuring out how we felt about it as we were leaving. Is that right to say, Jahan?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm still trying to process. It was a complicated movie, both in plot and emotionally. I don't want to give stuff away, obviously, but there's you find some stuff out later that changes the context of everything that's happening, kind of, and I don't know, it makes you want to tear up a bit. It's pretty beautiful. The story is pretty beautiful. It's obviously it's going to be about family because most Miyazaki movies are about love and closeness and that kind of stuff. It's about connections. All of his movies are about human experience, and this movie's no different. But this movie gets really hard into Japanese folklore and that kind of stuff. They go deep, man, and it's a bit of an acid trip. It's pretty wild. There's some crazy stuff that happens. It's very fairy magic and spirits and that kind of stuff. A lot of crazy stuff goes on. There's a bit of an Alice in Wonderland vibe. Overall, initial thoughts, I liked it. I liked it a good amount. But I kind of had really high expectations. I thought this was gonna be the thing that's finally better than Spirited Away, and I'm starting to think nothing will ever be better than that movie. But The Boy and the Heron tried, and it is good. So definitely recommend seeing it.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I probably like it even more a little bit removed from it, just because I've been able to kind of think about it and digest it and read
Same.
some think pieces that I think help to kind of shed light on things that maybe, um, didn't emotionally resonate with me the same way as some people that are much smarter than I am. From a base premise standpoint, it's hard to even give a quick summary of a Miyazaki movie sometimes because there's so much. But essentially, it's a young boy whose mother died in a fire, and his father has remarried his mom's younger sister, which is like a traditional thing that would happen in culture sometimes. If like
It's even
a widow
common
would marry
in
a family member of their deceased
yeah, it's
partner.
even common in European beliefs. It happens in The Patriot. You know what I mean? Like it's a thing.
And so they've like kind of moved out to the countryside, and this young boy, I think his name's Mahito. He's kind of just coping with everything, and then there's this mysterious heron that shows up in the countryside where they're at, and I won't really say anything more than that. I think that anything beyond that is where you
Yeah, the
start
Heron
getting
stuff's
into
pretty
territory.
pretty unexpected. It's pretty wild, man. Yeah,
And
and so
there's naturally beautiful animation throughout this. Some of the stuff with the heron in particularly, and how the heron changes over time, I absolutely loved.
he's one
I
of my
think that
favorite
it's
characters.
the movie maybe I hate to say this about it because this is a movie I really liked, but it still maybe is a little overlong. It take like the section in the real world is probably a good 45 minutes or so before it really starts to get into the more
They
trippy
really took their
Miyazaki
time.
stuff.
Yeah, they really took their
And
time.
I mean, the movie's like over 2 hours long, so it's long. But I really really liked it. The heavy themes of family and heavier themes than that are present, that are traditional fare for a Miyazaki movie. It's maybe for me mid-tier Miyazaki, but that's extremely high tier for any other kind of animation. So that's it's still very high, high praise.
What are you guys thinking?
Correct.
From the outside, it feels like you guys would say it's a 7 or an 8, but I do want to know which one it is.
I don't know that I would give
I am
any of his
curious.
movies lower than a 7. I haven't seen all of them, but from what I've seen, 7 would be low on the Miyazaki scale. This is probably 7.5 maybe for me.
I logged it as an 8 on Letterboxd, so
I can see
I
an
came to
8.
terms with 4 stars.
I'm not going to argue with you on an 8.
That's
It is
tough
very
for
good.
me because it sounds like it's one of the two, and I'm just curious which one it is.
Yeah.
I am interested to revisit again with the dubbed version, just because the cast of the dubbed version is very intriguing. There's Robert Pattinson in particular voices the Heron in the dubbed version, and I'm from the trailer it sounds like he's really kind of replicating the way that it sounds in the original Japanese voice acting. But I don't know. I'd like to see it with again and
Yeah,
hear
I mean,
the
things
voice
get
work
lost
and
in
everything.
the translation when you're reading, and you don't have you lack context for their language a lot of times, and sometimes things have deeper meanings, double meanings that we don't pick up on. You miss a lot of nuance. Seeing it dubbed would be good. I feel like Spirited Away is one of those films that even I had to watch more than once to truly like get my appreciation I have for it now. There's a lot going on. It's a very involved movie, and like I don't fully understand some of the plot points still. They were pretty out there concepts, but yeah, I liked it a lot. Certified fresh for sure.
It's definitely certified fresh. I think it is a movie that's hard to, it's going to be a different take from everybody that watches it. Like the way that you interpret it and what you take away from it emotionally, I think it varies from person to person. But the movie did pack an emotional punch for me, and I really did enjoy it.
It reminds me, so it feels a little bit to me like the Labyrinth almost. It feels a little labyrinthy with like some of the plot points and just sort of the concept of the labyrinth, having to navigate through this crazy world full of fey magic and goblins. And And it's one part that, and then it's one part Alice in Wonderland, maybe a smidge of what's that movie with Robin Williams where he has to navigate the afterlife?
Oh, that movie's dope.
Is that what dreams will come or?
Yes, I think
Yeah,
so.
it's got a little bit of that in there, and it's like I don't know, man. It's pretty spectacular, if nothing else. But I liked it, so.
Yep, I agree. Another one that I wanted to talk about is the Iron Claw, which this is the film about the Von Erich wrestling family. So this is a biopic, and it's one of the interesting things where I got to see this in advance, and I formulated my opinion about it, but it was under embargo, and the embargo actually lifted this morning, and I was like pretty meh on this movie, and like there's been overwhelmingly positive reviews about it. So like I guess I don't, which is interesting.
Stick to your guns, bro. Stick to your guns. I love it.
Yeah, it's like I'm a little bit more reserved with it, but I'm also like a pretty big wrestling fan, or have been for a while, and so I went into this expecting to love it, and I was expecting like a deep kind of tearing apart of the wrestling industry and how it affected this family, and kind of looking for something more aligned with like Aronofsky's The Wrestler, which is another movie that I really like.
100%. That's exactly what I would have been expecting,
and this
I'm over here pointing like me too, me too.
I saw The Wrestler, and it was really good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great movie. And this is really just kind of a straight up biopic of the Von Erichs family, which I understand the appeal from a filmmaker's perspective to want to make this into a movie, because for those that aren't familiar with the Von Erichs, they're not the same, level of fame as like Stone Cold or The Rock, but they were a huge wrestling legacy family in the 70s and 80s.
They were about a decade off. If they'd have been around 10 years later, they'd have been a household name.
Harry Von Erich and one of them, did make a WWF run back in the day and was like an Intercontinental Champion and whatever. But essentially, this family, the Von Erichs, they were considered to be cursed. The father, Fritz Von Erich, he was a wrestler and never captured World Heavyweight Championship. And so then he had many sons, the first of which his sons died in a tragic accident when he was only 6 years old. And then you have the second son, which is Kevin Von Erich, which is played by Zac Efron in the movie. I'm going off of memory here. I believe it's David Von Erich's the next one, then Carrie, then Mike, and then there's another one who's not in the movie. But a lot of the Von Erich boys died tragically, whether from accidents or from suicide or from all kinds of things. Like a lot of them met unfortunate, early ends, and they had a lot of issues and a lot of demons. And in this movie, you've got, like I said, Zac Efron playing Kevin Von Erich. You've got Harris Dickinson playing David. You've got, Jeremy Allen White from The Bear fame playing Carrie Von Erich, and Holt McCallany plays the dad. And like all the performances in the movie are really good. Like everybody's great. Zac Efron is like incredibly buff in this movie. He's always been in good shape, and he packed on even more weight and muscle for this, and he's huge. Like like the first time you see him in the movie, you're like, whoa, because he's so big. So I was very impressed by the physical performance. But for me, yes, like this family was really focused on wrestling, and yes, they had a lot of issues, some of which were caused from wrestling. A lot of it, the way the movie tells it, is from the pressure that the dad put upon the boys. But that being said, like I didn't feel like this was a more in-depth look or a new take on the wrestling industry or anything like that. It really just kind of shows this family and the tragedy that happened to them. And by the end, it left me saying, it's like, why did I subject myself to this? It's almost like tragedy for tragedy's sake.
I'm totally sure that this is what gets somebody into the behind-the-scenes wrestling stuff. This is probably what gets people into the territories kind of stuff about wrestling, the older stuff, and those on-the-road stories and all the tragic suicides and stuff like that. Wrestling is peppered with them. And you and I know that because you and I are wrestling guys, and we have been, and I watch that stuff all the time. I think it's a great watch to see what life was like on the road for wrestlers in the 80s. And there's only one way you get it is by listening to these old heads sit around and talk about it and tell their stories on the road. So, yes, I'm with you. I wanted that to be sort of a territories behind the scenes wrestling road story. And it sounds like there is still something to enjoy in it as a wrestling fan. But yeah, you and I probably want even deeper cuts than this. But this is somebody's gateway drug to the territories and stuff like that. So I gotta
Yeah,
respect
like if
that, I think, for
every
what it is, right?
if every episode of Dark Side of the Ring got a movie as well made and crafted as this, like that would be a
Yep.
pretty cool thing. It's just for me, like I went in thinking this movie was made for me as a wrestling fan. Like I'm gonna just thrive off of this. I'm gonna love it. This is gonna be a 5 out of 5. And I kind of walked away going, well, that's the story
It
I
should
knew,
have
and it's
been a
pretty
two-part
depressing. But like
episode
I didn't
of
have anything to take away other than that's pretty depressing. So whereas I wanted it to be like a 5 out of 5, it's maybe more of a 3 out of 5 for me. So I actually would
that's
still just
the Iron Claw.
despite these criticisms, I'd still probably say that it's fresh. Like a 3 out of 5 is fine. It's just I had for me, I had maybe higher expectations than I should have. But then again, there are critics I really like and respect that are saying this is like a 4 out of 5 or a 4.5 out of 5 and really, really enjoying it, which is great. It just, I was kind of surprised to see it. I just
It
it
really
wasn't
does
what I
to
wanted
me
it to be.
sound like it should have been a two-part episode of Dark Side of the Ring, and probably not a full movie. Like you said, there's those wrestling tragedies. Unfortunately, were a dime a dozen during the 70s, 80s, and 90s. People, there were no time off, no planes. You were doing everything on the road, in a car, out of motels. The only way to medicate was with painkillers and beer. You had no time off, so if you weren't working, you weren't getting paid, and your family wasn't getting food on the table. So those guys had horrible lives. But just watch Dark Side of the Ring. You could just, there's like 5 seasons now. You could just really binge that and get all the horrible stories you want.
It really is truly like all the things that happened to this family. You're like, surely this all couldn't have happened, right? And like it really did. Like one of them's, like intestines ripped open randomly and he died. Another one had shoulder surgery and went into toxic
that
shock
happens.
syndrome and then like eventually took his own life. And like another one had other issues. Like it's just all kinds of things. There's like it's horrible what happened to this family. And
I guess that's the thing, right? One episode of Dark Side of the Ring is for one person. But when it happens to a whole family, when it's 5 episodes of Dark Side of Ring in one, then you can make a movie about it.
Yeah, yeah. So it's just, again, I had high hopes for it, and it was fine, but it wasn't the big new interpretation or a new take on the wrestling industry and how it affects those in it, as much as I maybe wanted it to be. So that's the Iron Claw. And then another movie I watched is on Netflix, and it is called May December. Have either of y'all heard of this movie or checked it out?
I don't. Maybe I've seen it on the queue, but I haven't checked it out.
It has
do
been
have to
lingering
tell
in the
you,
top 10 on Netflix recently.
That is not a movie title. Those are 2 months that are not actually next to each other.
So, May December is directed by Todd Haynes, who's a great director, and it stars Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore and Charles Melton, and it's a story. It's based off of a real. The characters in this movie are fictional, but it's based off of a real life scenario, a real life person. But essentially, in the movie, it is Julianne Moore's character was a part of a big was a big tabloid persona because she was arrested for being when she was 36 years old, being in a relationship with a 12-year-old boy that she was in love with. They were in love, and she went to jail.
You are not supposed to do that.
She went to jail, and she, I believe, gave birth to his child in jail. And then later, when she got out and when he was of age, they got married. And so in the movie, all that story happened, nearly 20 years ago, and now Natalie Portman's character is planning to play Julianne Moore's character in a movie and is spending time with them and studying her and learning more about the life to help her prepare for the role. Does that all that make sense?
It's a movieception.
It is. So I probably
It's a
explained that
movie
really
about.
terribly.
It's a movie, right? But it's a movie about making a movie. But it's a movie about not
about
making
an
a movie,
actress.
but about the character
Which
study.
actress is this movie about?
This is about Natalie Portman learning from the wife, the child wife lady. So Natalie Portman
Gary's got it. Gary's
learns
with
from
it.
the
So
child
I
wife
did explain
lady
it right.
because she's gonna play her in a movie.
Who's the child
So
wife lady?
That's the
Julianne
one who
Julianne
the
Moore?
12-year-old knocked her up.
Mhm.
Yeah,
The
the 12-year-old done
To
put
be
a baby
clear,
in that
in the
oven.
timeline, the movie I believe takes place in like 2015, right? Natalie Portman is studying Julianne Moore to play her in a movie. This tabloid scenario of what happened to Julianne Moore happened in the 90s, so she's years removed from it, but it's still like a hot topic. And she's now married to the boy that she had a relationship with. He's in his 30s and she's much older. And so Natalie Portman is
the
spending time with
actress Julianne Moore is who you're talking about.
Oh my gosh, you guys are making this way harder than it needs to
No,
be.
I'm
doing.
I'm not doing a bit. I'm serious. Like, I'm having trouble digesting that.
I'm pulling
No.
up the
No.
Wikipedia
No.
description so that I can read this to you.
Okay.
No.
Sorry, Drew.
And
I was
my
like, I
computer
like
is-
Julianne Moore. I didn't know she was a pedophile.
No, in the movie.
No, she's playing the pedophile
Okay.
character.
Okay. Good.
May
Good.
She's a real
December.
person.
May
She's a
December
real
is a
person.
2023 American drama film directed by Todd Haynes. Todd Haynes. I can't talk. It stars Natalie Portman as an actress who travels to Georgia to meet and study the life of the controversial woman she is set to play in a film. The woman being infamous for her 23-year-long relationship with her husband, which began when he was just 13 years old. And Julianne Moore plays the woman, the controversial woman, and Charles Melton plays the husband. And that is the plot of the
Got it. Okay.
movie. Thank you.
Okay,
So
good.
that's on me for being too wordy and trying to explain it in a bad
No,
way
man, I
without
was with
character
it.
names and such.
I was with it.
Peak said, "Oh boy, oh boy." All the performances in this are really good. For anybody that has seen this pop up on Netflix and they're maybe like, it's a Netflix movie. I'm not sure, whatever. It's very good. It's going to be a contender at the awards ceremonies, and Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore are both fantastic in it. And the film, I put in my Letterboxd review, I said prestige pulp, because it's trying to be pulpy on purpose at times that I thought is very fun and kind of comedic. But then at other times it's tackling really difficult subject matter, and it does so pretty well. But while Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore are really good in it, Charles Melton, who plays Julianne Moore's husband in the movie, is fantastic. He's a younger actor. I believe he's from the Riverdale series, is one of the things he's known for. But he's really great in this, and his star's getting a huge bump. Like the heat behind him for Best Supporting Actor this year is he's got a shot, and that was an award that seemed like it was
His
Robert Downey
stock went
Jr.'s
up.
to lose. So
That's the way I always
Anyway.
think about it. Is their stock goes up. His Hollywood stock is
Yep.
going up for that one. His Hollywood stock's not dropping after that.
That's right. So that's May December. It's on Netflix now, and it's really good. It's really good. A movie less good. I went and saw The Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. That's the
I
full
told
title
you I was
of that
sort
movie.
I told you I was sort of interested in this one, and if I had gone to see it, my expectations for this are super low. Like 3 out of 10 is my expectation. So I think I would probably be pleasantly surprised by this. Go on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I had heard good things. Like the trailers I didn't think were very impressive, but then the reviews kind of seemed to point to it's better than it has any right to be. And I went to see it, and I actually was kind of into the first bit of it, and And as any Hunger Games movie is, when it's actually doing the Hunger Games is when it's at its best. The problem is that's like the first hour of the movie that I was really into, and then the movie goes on for about 7 hours longer after that, and it's just way. It really feels like three movies in one. I think realistically it's about 2 hours and 40 minutes long, but it's
It's too
just
long.
there's the Hunger Games section of it is pretty solid, and then there's a whole another 45 minutes to almost an hour after that where I was just like, come on, like let's wrap this
Do
stuff
you
up.
remember the Divergent movies, that whole series of movies?
Yeah, I was
I
actually
do.
just thinking about them too. Funny enough.
That's what I expected out of this. It's just some kind of like mediocre 5-star sci-fi meh. But that's what I
We're the
expect.
Warrior Guild. We ride on top of the train.
Look, dude, I forgot about that. That was dope. I have a soft spot for these kinds of horrible societies. You know what I mean?
You like
the
dystopian
vaguely
future
kind of-
sci-fis, yeah.
Yeah, I do. I really do.
Me
I have
too.
a soft spot for dystopian future sci-fi. So it's already not gonna be a 0. You know what I mean? Like I already like it, even if it's bad.
It's an
Fair.
interesting movie. It's like I haven't. So for the record, I read the three original Hunger Games books before those movies came out. I have not read this book, this prequel book. The plot is it takes place around the 10th Hunger Games, the 10th annual Hunger Games, and it's an origin story essentially for Coriolanus Snow, who's played by Donald Sutherland in the later movies, but this is him when he's young in the capital and how he got started. And in it, Rachel Zegler is in this movie, which she is from West Side Story that Steven Spielberg did a couple of years ago, and she's in the recent Shazam sequel. And that's not a good movie, but she's pretty good in it. I just really like Rachel Zegler in general, and she is the girl. She's competing in the Hunger Games in this, and I won't say how or why she and Snow are connected or what happens, but she's as much as like Rachel Zegler, it seems like she's kind of miscast in this. She's doing like kind of a country twang, but then her character also sings. And it's unclear to me if they shoehorned in songs into the movie because Rachel Zegler can sing, or if the character that she plays actually sings in the book. I haven't read the book. It all felt really strange tonally and out of place. But the young actor, I believe his name's Tom Blythe, that plays Snow is pretty good. But yeah, there are some cool ideas in this, and the movie itself is like overall executed fine. It's just way too long, and it's trying to tackle way too much, and none of it was resonating on an emotional level. So you're just kind of like watching to see what happens, more or less.
I
But there
feel
are
like
songbirds and there are snakes.
I feel like that is probably too many people having conversations in the dark. That's how I like to describe those movies. It's just too many people talking in the dark to each other about nothing. Too many plot lines that you couldn't give a shit about. It's the Hunger Games, man. It's about weapons, it's about kills, it's about hiding and popping up, and it's about the drama inside your soul when you have to go through that kind of stuff. It's not about conversations and plot and how to tie it in with the old Hunger Games stuff and alluding to future. It's not about that. It's not what it's
Well,
about.
the thing is, like in the Jennifer Lawrence movies and those stories, the Hunger Games are I think it's like in the 70th. They're like the 74th or 75th Hunger Games, whatever they're at then. So they're very well established, and there's a process, and there's kind of all the like pomp and circumstance of it. And one of the things that was executed well that I liked the most about this prequel is essentially they're going into the 10th Hunger Games, and viewership and interest in the Hunger Games is declining. Um, it's just like punishment. You're watching these kids kill each other. It's like it's terrible, and it is a terrible thing. But this is the one where they're trying to establish like what can we do to make people be more interested. Oh, let's showcase the
We gotta-
contestants. Let's
gotta
have them.
zazz it up.
The audience can get more invested in them, and it kind of is like the origins of how the pomp and circumstance got into the Hunger Games, and I liked all of that.
So it's
That
pomp and
stuff is-
circumstance about pomp and circumstance. So
Yeah, right. Exactly.
That's kind of cool, man. They like how to bedazzle the Hunger Games.
But there are some characters that are playing it super straight, which is fine. But then you have Viola Davis and Jason Schwartzman and Peter Dinklage, who are supporting characters in this that are playing Capitol members, that they are on a different level than other people and like really know what kind of movie that they're in, and they're playing up their characters and being a little bit more cartoony, and that really worked. They are really good in it, and they make it much more enjoyable. But then when they're not on screen and you're having it just played super serious, it's like you start to kind of lose some interest. But it is fine, but it just goes on for way too long. I'm not one to usually say this. It probably could have been 2 movies and been better off for it, but instead, it's a nearly 3-hour long Hunger Games movie that it has a pretty good half to it, I'd say.
It's a little snoozy, a little snoozer.
A little snoozy at times, yeah.
A little snoozy. It's a little snoozy. That sounds like
Fair
something
enough.
I could put on in the background while I paint minis or something, and I don't really have to watch, and it could just be going over there.
Yes, it would be great for that.
So I guess that brings us. I don't have a good segue for this, but I guess that brings us to our next movie. I this weekend took my mother, who is a huge fan of Godzilla, to see Godzilla -1. And I gotta tell you, I was kind of. You saw this, right, Drew?
I did.
I was
I
kind of.
talked about it either last week or the week before. I can't remember.
Yeah, I was kind of
Last week,
blown
yeah.
away, man. I was kind of blown away by this movie. It's not just a good Godzilla movie. It is a good movie. It's probably one of my favorite movies I've seen this year. I'm just going to start off with those notes. My mom liked it too. It was. I didn't realize it was going to be in Japanese. It is completely Japanese with subtitles. Did not realize that. I was super excited to see that because I went to Cinemark to see a movie playing on one of their screens that's in a foreign language. It's becoming more commonplace to see that kind of thing, and that's exciting to me. Cinema is changing in America finally, and we get to see something like this. And so it was nice to see a Godzilla movie where they didn't feel like they had to shoehorn a bunch of Americans into this Japanese story, and it was better for it. It takes place during World War, right at the end of World War II, in Japan, as a Godzilla story should. And it starts off pretty good with some Godzilla action. The main character is a Japanese kamikaze pilot. He is a failed kamikaze pilot. As he does not, he kind of fakes a plane disaster so that he doesn't have to go through with it. That kind of thing. And so the whole movie, he's wrestling with people's deaths that weigh on his soul because he dishonored himself by not going through with it, and this and that. And there is a big human side to this story of this man confronting some really serious demons. It gets really dark. It gets it's very emotional. It's very raw, and it's very real, man. It's just, I don't know. He's dealing with PTSD. They don't have words for it yet. He's living in Japan after World War II, so obviously that's not great. Two of their cities got nuked, and a lot of stuff's destroyed. Pretty much, they erect a hovel in a trash pile, as many of the other residents did too. And he meets this woman who found a baby, and she decided to take care of it, and they form this sort of patchwork family, and it's kind of a beautiful story. And then you get to the Godzilla parts. So I guess there's 2 or 3 main times that you're seeing big time Godzilla action, and they're the best Godzilla action I've ever seen. It was great. There's one where he's destroying a city, and it is awesome, dude. People are dealing with stuff going on. I don't know whose idea it was to zuss up the atomic blast that Godzilla can do, but holy crap, did they up the ante on that. And it was just fantastic, man. The movie, it even ends well. It even has a good ending.
It's a really powerful ending, I thought, actually.
It was.
I thought it was done really well.
It was. And because there was some stuff that happened in the movie, and I was like, man, if this movie, this is kind of sad. And then, there's some, I don't know, it ends well, and it makes sense. It doesn't lose the thread during the movie. It's a little long, but it's not too long. There's a lot of action to keep you interested. I 100% this is certified fresh. One of the best movies of the year. Definitely the best Godzilla movie I've ever seen. So if you like any best kaiju movie I've ever seen, period. Like this beats all the rest. If you're a fan of big monsters, this is the big monster movie. 100% is what I will say. I give this a 9 out of 10. Like this was
There
a
was
really good
something
movie.
you said that really stuck out to me, saying that it took place just after World War II, like any good Godzilla movie should. And it reminded me that all of the American ones always try to be modern, and it just doesn't work, and it's stupid for some reason. And I got to thinking how much cooler it would be if there was, an American Godzilla, so to speak, where same thing, nuclear testing in the waters, but it's 1950. And that's Pearl Harbor. The Pearl Harbor attack's a cover up, right, where Godzilla came out and smashed up shit when we were testing nuclear bombs down there. I think as a period piece in America, Godzilla might work really well.
It could.
But every time they try to make it modern, the flavor's not right. It might be fit for period piece. That's all I'm saying. When you said that, something clicked in my head that like I think you could do it.
I mean, I'm sure you could
But
do it.
I
Yeah.
think they're just not doing it, and I think it might be because the time period it needs to be 40s and 50s, 60s at most for it to make any sense. After that, you start dealing with modern military and modern technology and equipment, and the whole thing just sort of falls apart. It's a lot cooler when their only option is to run or, shoot toothpicks at it.
They do a really good job of explaining why the people are the ones that have to deal with Godzilla. They do, like, the story makes sense as to why they're not getting aid from like major governments and stuff. It's really interesting how it's well written. And then, but yeah, and also the period work in this movie where, they're showing this old Japan. Perfect. It looks great. It looks just like, honestly, it looks like the animated The Boy and the Heron, like, because that also takes place at about the same time. And it's funny, in that movie, they're actually making cockpits for kamikaze planes. So I don't know. Both of them are kind of connected in that way. It's kind of funny. But yeah, I love this movie. I can't say enough good things about it. If you like kaijus, check it out.
And again, to reemphasize, great week for Japanese film at the box office here in America because, as I said, The Boy and the Heron was number 1, but Godzilla minus one was number 3 at the box office. So both those movies in the top 5, kind of unprecedented times that we're in, and
it's great to
Godzilla
see
minus one kind of
international
snuck into
film.
theaters.
We, as Americans, we sort of act like we are the center of film, and it's nice that now we can sort of say we are becoming that finally. We're not just the people who pump out movies. Now we're actually importing the movies and becoming a real film center where international film.
People are a lot more
shown.
willing to watch a subtitled movie in America than they ever have been in the past, I would say. I feel like Netflix has something to do with that because the way they present foreign film, it's all right there mixed up with all the American and English language stuff. And also, things like Parasite, they that changed a lot. The Korean film market in general changed a lot, and it's
Also,
just
you've got
exciting
a whole
times.
generation of people now, of adults, that own houses and pay bills and, car notes and stuff, that grew up on anime.
It's true.
And Adult Swim at night, only playing anime from midnight until forever. All of us have seen it. It's
Yeah,
not
all of us
like our
watch
parents
subtitles.
It's not like our parents who no one had seen it, or very few parents had seen it. My dad for a long time wouldn't watch anything animated, let alone anime. He would never watch like a Japanese dub thing. But he would, he finally got around to watching Metalocalypse, and it was animated, and I couldn't believe that he even gave it the time of day. But as a rock fan, he found it really funny. But, like, again, we're a whole generation of people who grew up watching dubbed and subbed stuff. Nothing is stopping us except for the movie theater. They're the only thing stopping us from watching it.
That's fair. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, anime movies are doing well in the box office. Blah blah blah.
Like,
chain of
how many
events.
times did we watch Kung Fu Hustle and Shaolin Soccer? You know what I mean? If those movies had come to America, they would have been huge hits.
It's funny you mention Kung Fu Hustle because it was mentioned alongside Godzilla minus one recently, just because the discourse on film Twitter and everything. And this every now and then it happens, and it's always neat to see. We're so used to like the movie machine and what it's turning out each week at theaters, and we all kind of have our predictions of the box office. But every now and then, a Godzilla -1 comes out that becomes this huge word of mouth hit that nobody saw coming, and it wasn't on anybody's radar. And I mean, that's truly what it was. It was a word of mouth hit, and people were going to see it, raving about it to their friends, and more people were going to see it.
I would have bought that. If I was the movie theater, there's no way that would have. If I had limited screens, no way Godzilla would have been on my guess of hits this week. I would have definitely thought Hunger Games would have got more viewers than Godzilla -1. I would have thought that was a nothing. I mean, I would have been wrong as hell.
Yeah, so it's cool, and they compared it to Kung Fu Hustle because it's like, when was the last time there was a big, foreign language film that kind of took our country by surprise, or like was a huge word of mouth hit? And those were, I think Kung Fu Hustle was one of the
Centipede.
ones that because like something like Parasite, while that's Korean film, it had a lot of momentum behind it as for the awards race and the claim it was getting. So it's I wouldn't compare it to something like Godzilla -1 that really feels like more of just a hit with fans, and people want to go see good movies, and it's a good one.
All right, let's talk about our fresh TV this week.
Which I don't have anything.
Yeah, no one has anything.
I've been watching TV, but not anything that I want to talk about here. I'm watching Angel.
And do you know
that means porn?
That's not TV. That's porn.
And that's the problem, right? That's the effing problem that I talked about last week when I said Invincible's gone until February or March, and I'm pissed. And now guess what? We don't even have fresh TV. None of the three of us even have fresh TV. Not a single fresh thing is happening right now because Amazon pulls this crap. And it's their fault. I blame Amazon that there's no fresh TV this week. It's 100% their fault. I won't take any blame. I know that I could get Netflix and I could go watch that samurai show that everybody's gushing over, and that would probably be my fresh pick of the
Samurai,
week.
yeah.
But I haven't.
Fantastic.
But I haven't, and I didn't. So I don't have a pick this week. My pick is that I'm still pissed.
I did mention last time that I watched the first episode of Scott Pilgrim and liked it. I'm much further in now, and I like it even more. So if you were thinking about watching Scott Pilgrim on Netflix, the animated series, it's really good, and it is not a remake of the movie.
There are no fresh TVs this week. All there are crickets and us going to fresh games. And this might have something to do with it. Now that I'm looking at the fresh games, this might have something to do with it.
So let's start here, because obviously Gary and I have finally gotten our hands on Baldur's Gate 3. And let me go to our fresh predictions page, because we need to address some things here.
Uh-oh.
We have 3 fresh predictions that are related to Baldur's Gate 3 releasing on Xbox. One of which is a big failure, one of which is a success, and the other one still remains to be seen, but is probably a success. So first off, my prediction from September 19th, 2023, when I said boldly that Baldur's Gate 3 will come to Game Pass on the same day that it eventually releases on Xbox consoles. No, that did not happen. It did not come to Game Pass. It is a $69.99 game on the Xbox console. So that was a fail. However, a follow-up prediction we had on December 4th of this year was that Baldur's Gate will be available on Xbox as soon as it's announced at the Game Awards, or the same night as the Game Awards, and that did happen.
It did happen.
However, it didn't happen quite as we thought it would. I thought there was going to be a big Baldur's Gate trailer that would say, now available on Xbox, or have a release date on it or something. There was a Baldur's Gate 3 trailer that played at the end of the show, or towards the end of the show, and all it did was show the physical edition of the game and gave no dates or anything. It was really strange. And I was sitting there going, okay, but when's the Xbox release date? When are you going to announce it? And then the show ended. And then people started to stumble into the Xbox store and realize that that Baldur's Gate 3 had stealth dropped on the Xbox store during the Game Awards. So it was, released during the Game Awards day and date, but it didn't have the announcement that I was expecting it to have at the show. Still, I'm counting this as a victory for us. The prediction that still remains to be seen is on the same day, December 4th, Jahan predicted that Baldur's Gate 3 will not be coming to Game Pass anytime in the immediate future, definitely not before summer. So we have until summer to see, but he's probably right.
I'm probably right. Yeah, hell yeah, I'm probably right.
So that being said, yeah, Gary and I bought Baldur's Gate 3. I'm not gonna sit here and do like a deep dive into it because I still feel like I've barely skimmed the surface, but I will say that I've really been enjoying my time with it so far.
Yeah, I also don't want to be like trying to dig into spoilers. What I did, it would probably drive some people mad, but I used to have this problem in D&D at the table also. I want to play every character. I want to see how they all work, and especially in a new edition, like when 5th edition came out, I wanted to see how everybody worked. I want to see all the mechanics. So I kid you not, I made like 12 different characters. And I just ran the first part, getting off the ship, over and over and over and over, and made different choices and tried to find different paths. I tried to do everything different that I could to try to feel out how these characters play and how this game plays, what the engine's about, what I can do. And so I'm finally feeling like I can handle the game, like I know what the game is going to be. I finally picked a character and finally started my campaign. But the whole weekend, I'm talking Friday night, Saturday night, all day, Sunday, just making characters, making characters, making characters.
I'd like to know two things. One, do you have a guesstimate as to about how many characters you ended up creating?
12-ish would be my guess.
Okay. And what race and class did you end up going with?
So one of those times I was really enjoying my playthrough, so I kept that guy, and then also made another guy to be my other main guy. So I've got 2 main guys now. One is a half-orc barbarian. Nice. And I've got like 5 hours in with him, so I was kind of like, you know what, let me just keep that playthrough. 5 hours is pretty long. All the other ones were about 40-minute playthroughs until this one now is like a 3-hour playthrough. And the one I settled on is a Dwergar, which is a dark dwarf from the Underdark. I'm a Dwergar fighter, and then also signed in the second controller and made a druid, who is a deep gnome, and then I signed the controller back out so that I have 2 characters to run around with out the gate instead of just 1. Also, it gives Annie a character to play that I can leave at camp and switch out, so just gave myself an extra little pocket gnome.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm really excited for both of you guys to play the game. I know that Drew already said that after he started playing it, he like gets it. Like he gets why people are liking it so much. Yeah, I'm just happy that, because I've been hyping this game up for a long time, and I'm glad to see that both of my buddies picked it up and are enjoying it. That's gratifying for me. So
yeah, it's like when you look at screenshots of it, when I had seen stuff on the surface, it kind of looks very Diablo-esque if you don't really know what you're looking at.
Yeah.
But obviously it plays very different, and you can't play it like a traditional adventure game like that where you're clicking whatever. It's very much D&D. And I think that if you...
It's not a run and gun at all.
Yeah, it's not a hack and slash. Yeah.
Being familiar with D&D makes this game way less intimidating than it probably could have been, because I understand the terminology of like my spell slots and having level 1 spell slots and level 2 spell slots and my movement and my action and my bonus action. Like I get all of those things.
What a minor rest is and what a long rest is.
Exactly.
It all makes sense.
And it's actually really fascinating because my approach to D&D when playing it in real life, with pencil and paper, is I kind of approach it like a video game. Like I want to play D&D the same way that I play a video game. I like to be thorough. I like to investigate. I like to talk to people. I like to check boxes. And now having a video game version where you can actually check those boxes and actually be as thorough as I want to, it's just scratching that itch for me really well, and I'm really enjoying it. I have about close to 10 hours, I think, with my main character that I've started, and It's a high elf druid, which, like, looking at the character that I created, like, he's very basic. I feel like, but it's kind of what I wanted to do for my first playthrough, is just like kind of play a more basic character, but as my avatar, and do the things that I want to do. And then I do want to do future playthroughs where I play way more like characters that I would want to get deep into roleplay with in a tabletop game, that are like maybe more not all funny or gimmicky, but still like have a little bit more character to them.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm enjoying it. I'm glad I chose a druid, because the companions that I have found so far, there's none of them are druids, and so in the first act, there's a lot of story stuff that has to deal with druids when you get a little bit of ways in. So I feel like I chose well, and I'm really enjoying it.
Druid's a good choice, man. Druid's a solid choice. It's fun. You have a lot of versatility. My pick is also kind of, I feel I like to do humans. I like to roll human a lot, because I enjoy, there's all these crazy races everywhere. There's, elves and gnomes and dwarves. I like to view the game from a human perspective, because it feels more like I'm there to me. You know what I mean? At least for my first playthrough, I usually like to go human, and I'm a human wizard because I'm always a wizard if it's an option. my logic chart goes: is there a wizard? Yes, I'm a wizard. And if no, then is there magic? If yes, then I pick that too. But
yeah, then he's a sorcerer. There's not a sorcerer. What's the next one with magic?
Warlock, cleric, anything. Give me a little bit of magic. If not, then yeah, I'll go fighter. But we'll see. Yeah, I'm just glad you guys are playing it and liking it. It's really fun. And yeah, I think my next character, I don't know, man. I kind of want to be like a half, because you can be a half drow. You can be a half dark elf, which I thought was really cool. That didn't used to be an option. You be a half drow, and I think I might go warlock is what I'm interested in.
I gotta tell you, I was having a lot of fun. Like, how there's class specific options that come up. Drew was saying that the druid, there was a lot of stuff that helped. The barbarian options were right up my alley. I was having a really good time with those. The very, very beginning, Shadowheart's stuck in the tube, and this is not a spoiler because it's literally the very beginning. Shadowheart's stuck in a tube, and I was barbarian, and one of my choices is just to rip off the lid, and I was like, yo, that's what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And so...
Did it work? Were you able to?
It took me 2 tries, but yeah, I was able to. The first time, your guy's like, it's too strong, and then the second time, you're like, you know what? I don't say no, I'm a barbarian, and then you just rip it off anyways, which is absolutely great. And so it hit it for me. That character's not getting deleted. I'm gonna play the barbarian. It felt right. Just like Jahan said, the wizard is what calls to him. I gotta be the guy who just rips doors off hinges. And the fact that I could do it in literally the first segment, I was so happy.
Oh yeah, man! Like your choices matter immediately. You have racial dialogue options, you have class dialogue options. Everything's there. Sometimes you have options because you took a specific spell. Like, everything matters. And I Baldur's Gate 3, game of the year for a reason. It is amazing. I don't know if you guys have seen the screenshot that they put in the Baldur's Gate trailer, but it's just a full screen of all the publications that are giving them perfect scores, and it's like 30 perfect scores. Like, it's an insane just white screen of perfect scores. So
let me talk about another game real quick.
Absolutely.
I have Lego Fortnite on my fresh games of the week. And, you never know what Fortnite's up to. And when I heard Lego Fortnite, I thought this was going to be Fortnite except Legos. I drop in, it's a battle royale game. We shoot little Lego guns at each other and drive Lego cars. I thought that's what it was going to be. And that would have been cool. But that's not what it is at all. Instead, it's like Minecraft. There's a whole world. You can invite people to your servers. You can start different seeds. You can craft and build houses and cars and planes and you name it. All this awesome Lego stuff. It's sick. It's sick nasty. It came out of nowhere. Nobody knew it was going to be such a hit. There was millions of players playing it online the day it came out. The day after it came out, find myself playing online. You know what I mean? Loved it. I got nothing but good things to say. If you've got kids, if you're into the Minecraft thing, if you want to just kind of build and let your mind relax, the way that it builds is cool. It's not just click, build a house. A house doesn't just appear in front of you. You have to build step one, the foundation, and then the pillars that are on the sides, just like you would have to build a Lego model. So building houses and stuff is done in sections and in bits and by collecting certain amounts of stuff. It's cool, it looks fun, it's family safe, and I might give it another visit. I would love to see. I think Fortnite has split screen, but I'm not sure. I would love to see if I could get my wife to play this as well. I think Lego Fortnite could be a lot of fun.
It seems
Something
like
I
a
could
good
really
time.
spend a lot of hours doing.
I've seen a lot of people doing stuff on there, and it looks fun. So I would check it out.
Well, Fortnite, they're doing a whole thing now. I was never really a Fortnite guy. I've never been a Fortnite guy. But now they've got like Rocket League in Fortnite, and they have this Lego Fortnite, which is like Minecraft. They've got games in the game. They're doing like a Ready Player One kind of approach, where just because you're playing Fortnite doesn't mean you're playing Fortnite anymore.
Yeah.
And that's really
Fortnite
cool.
is the closest thing we have to a real metaverse.
Yeah, man.
They're doing a better job than Metaverse.
So I don't want to, maybe I didn't like Fortnite, you know what I mean? But maybe I'm starting to like what Fortnite is becoming. Whenever you continue to serve your community in your game like this, that's just got success written all over it.
Whoever's in charge of that, they're geniuses. Because that game started off wildly different from what it is today, and they've been so adaptive. Because I'm sure I've told you guys before, but I had like the Founders Pack. I was one of the first people buying Fortnite, playing it. But back then, it was a lot more of an Orcs Must Die style base builder.
Yeah, it was like a zombie tower defense-y thing.
It was
right?
a zombie tower defense game, absolutely. And then all of a sudden, they introduced this battle royale mode, and then it exploded. And so they've just been evolving and evolving, adding stuff, constantly serving their community, and making fistfuls of cash. So it's good for them.
There's a no build. There's a no build mode right now where if you're just more of a traditional like Apex player or something like that, maybe you like Call of Duty Warzone, but you're sick of what's going on over there. It's no build, so you don't have to worry about people, building these giant scaffolds or skyscrapers or buildings in front of you. You just run and shoot. All you have to worry about is making it to the final circle, just like the rest of the BRs. So I was actually able to get some enjoyment out of the Battle Royale mode. I generally don't like Battle Royales, but I know how to run, hide, and shoot. So we actually ended up catching #1 one of those times. And, it feels good. It always feels good to win a game. So I'm going to say, Fortnite's pretty fresh still. In fact, I'm going to say it's more fresh now than it ever was. That's what I'm going to say.
That's probably true. Yeah, it's only getting better, which is impressive. You got to respect it.
That leaves us one last thing to talk about: our fresh picks of the week. Whatever kind of topped your list, whatever was the cherry on top this week for you guys.
And also what you're telling other people they should check out.
Yeah, that's right.
And for that reason, I almost put The Boy and the Heron just because I did really like it and I think it provokes thought. So it's kind of cheating that I even just said that. But at the end of the day, Baldur's Gate 3 is what has its hooks in me now currently, and I'm excited to play more. But again, that's a game that's been around for people for a while now. It's just new for Xbox players such as myself. So, but I'm still going to say it because I really like it, and I'm excited to play a lot more and dig deeper into it.
Absolutely.
Let me jump the line here.
Go ahead.
I know you're up next, Jahan, but I'll just piggyback on Drew.
By all
I'm
means.
also Baldur's Gate 3. It came out for Xbox. We are waiting for it. It was anticipated. And whenever you anticipate something, it only leaves room to disappoint. And it did not disappoint. It has pretty much lived up to the hype. I haven't gotten deep into the game yet, but that's from my own mistake because I don't want to get too deep into the game too fast. So I'm totally into it. One of my favorite things in Dragon Age Origins was making characters and seeing how they all started. So I had a lot of fun making all these characters and seeing the different ways that, like you said, that the races, the abilities, the classes could interact with the environment. I love it. I can't wait to really sink my teeth into Baldur's Gate 3. It's going to be my pick this week, and I would not be surprised if it was my pick for a week or two coming up as I continue to uncover more and more of the content.
I almost said the same thing. Like, it might be my fresh pick for a few weeks to come. We'll see.
I'm not going to complain at all because I'm obsessed. So I'm thrilled that you guys feel the same way. And honestly, it makes me really interested to see our end of year top picks, which are coming up soon. So we're going to be doing our top picks of the year, our video games, movies, and shows of 2023 soon. I really, at this point, I no longer know what to expect from you guys. So I'm really excited.
I'm kind of thinking, while we're wrapping the show up, I wanted to. That's maybe something we can do next week. Is our fresh news? Is I still have our most anticipated TV shows, games, and movies of the year list that we made at the end of last year. So it might be worth kind of just pulling those up and revisiting, like, what were we anticipating and how those ended up being for us. What our enjoyment level of those were, if they ended up being some of our favorites or not. Anyways, not to cut you off, John.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited for that too. I have no idea what to expect from you guys. My fresh pick was also a tough call. Go watch Japanese movies. That's what I have to say. But I think Godzilla honestly blew me away. Completely exceeded all expectations. My fresh pick of the week. I look forward to watching The Boy and The Heron with my children eventually, though. So exciting stuff. Hey everybody. I hope you enjoyed Fresh Out the Podcast, because that was it. We did it. We did the thing. I have been the board game guru and game master extraordinaire, Johananan. Gary, what are you doing?
Well, I am the media and movie mastermind.
Sorry, my mic was doing a whole thing.
He was freezing and
Sorry,
stuff.
guys. My mic
was. You became squares for a minute.
Well, that was real. I actually did become squares for a minute.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. It really hurts my bones. Ever since my back was messed up as a kid, I got this mutant power to turn into squares. This is Gary. I'm glad you could join us. Yeah, it's not a great power, man. Yeah, it sucks. You know the bad guys from Gumby, the redhead block guys?
The blockheads?
Yeah, that's basically me. Yeah, it sucks. You can find us at twitch.tv/Johanan. We're playing tabletop role-playing games. Both of us play as blockheads. And we will see you guys on episode 112 of Fresh Out the Podcast. That's the next one. Love you, bye.
Miss you, Drew.
I did it already. I said I was Drew, and it was in line with Gary. But yeah, I'm Drew Munhausen. At Drew Munhausen on Twitter and all the stuff.
What a mess! All right, everybody, stay fresh.